Australia's livestock export industry exists because there's a need for it. Cattle, sheep and goats from Australia are meeting a growing need for fresh meat, red meat protein in consumers' diets. Take Vietnam. It only began importing Australian cattle in 2012. Its economy is developing and incomes are increasing, so people can afford more red meat protein in their diet. The industry's copped a good deal of criticism over the years. Where there's been failures in animal welfare, the criticism is warranted. We have listened and learned and are taking our responsibilities to care for livestock seriously. Other criticisms, however, are the result of not knowing enough about the industry or the needs of a country like Vietnam. You often hear people ask why we can't slaughter the animals in Australia and ship the meat overseas frozen. It's a fair question, but one with a very simple answer. Unlike Australia, many communities in Vietnam simply don't have a local grocery store to pop down to buy meat. Even if there were, fridges and freezers are still not available to everyone. Consumers prefer to buy fresh beef, mostly at wet markets, for a number of reasons. This includes the fact that these markets are a convenient, traditional place to source beef, the prices at these markets are competitive, and the buyers can bargain for their daily requirement, with fresh veggies and fruit. Consumers cook and consume their beef purchases often within the same day, so there's no need for refrigeration. But it's not just household fridges that are lacking. There's simply not the means, a refrigerated transport system particularly, to distribute imported chilled meat from port throughout the country. So here, fresh meat means that the animals must be raised and slaughtered locally. That's why Vietnam needs our live cattle in addition to our meat.
Regarding working with Australian cattle, I can see a lot of progress. I sell a lot of beef from Australian cattle to supermarkets and many big wholesalers. Since we set up the new equipment with the help of Australian exporters, we have achieved very good results. And I feel more relaxed without all the worrying like I used to do with the old business. With the old setup, it wasn't up to scratch.
Slaughtering live animals means caring for live animals up to the point of slaughter, and with this task comes a lot of responsibility, not least of which is the welfare of the animals. Caring for livestock in a lairage of an abattoir is, for the most part, no different to looking after animals at a feedlot. As such, the same intensive training regarding handling and welfare given to feedlot staff is also provided to slaughter staff, often during the same training programs. Every animal must have access to food and water, medical care, and be treated with respect. And as with feedlots, the welfare standards within slaughter facilities in Vietnam have come a long way thanks to this training and programs like SCAS. Since 2012, the live trade has trained a growing number of people in Vietnam and over 7,500 people around the world.
The skill base in Vietnam is quite different to the skill base in, say, Australia and even some of the markets that have been exposed to Australian cattle pre-SCAS. And so the skill base is quite low, and the technology and the methods they're using for handling, transport and slaughter are still quite primitive. And so it's quite a change to upgrade the skill set to enable them to meet the SCAS standards. But we're finding that they are well and truly able to do that if they make the mindset change of going from the old methods to the new methods. And we're providing enough training to enable them to do that effectively and to be able to do it every time so that we're not jeopardising any of the integrity of the SCAS program.
As is the case with feedlots, only SCAS-approved abattoirs are authorised to receive Australian cattle. In April 2015, there were over 80 approved facilities. Many were upgraded to meet SCAS standards. Some have been built from scratch. The live export industry invests a lot of time and money into staff training and infrastructure improvements to make sure the demands we place on how cattle are treated can be met. And this includes advice on lairage and abattoir layout and specialist training, including the efficient use of pneumatic and handheld penetrative stunners.
With the help we have received from Australian exporters and training from live export program consultants, The workers have a better understanding of what they do, and they do good work, which makes things easy for us.
As an industry, we've come a long way in building a growing market and facilitating better treatment of cattle, but there's still a way to go yet. With the help of the Australian Government, the live export industry, and the cooperation of local facility managers and staff, we are constantly striving to improve the handling, treatment and slaughter of cattle day in, day out. Problems have been identified. We've spoken about them publicly, but importantly, we're implementing additional standards and requirements in Vietnam, including CCTVs in all abattoirs and feedlots, to better oversee and deliver good welfare and shut down high-risk facilities or supply chains. We have taken action that demonstrates that animal welfare is at the forefront of our minds in our efforts to build a sustainable trade in Australian livestock exports to Vietnam.